Welcome to Innovate Newport. Really happy to have you here. My name is Molly Williams. I'm the Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship here. My colleague here is Kevin Buck. He is the Community Manager. Before we begin, I want to do a quick shout out to RIHub. So Annette and Mia, are we here? Yes, Mia? Annette's on her way. They organized the first ever Rhode Island Startup Week, which is really exciting. A lot of work went into it. So kudos to them. We're excited to be on the final day of Rhode Island Startup Week, kind of the culmination. So we're really happy you're here. It's going to be an exciting day, I know. I want to do a few introductions and thank yous. Definitely want to first acknowledge Kevin. I think he'd like to say a few things about Innovate Newport.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you all for being here today. Welcome to Innovate Newport. We're happy you're all here on a beautiful Friday afternoon. My experience with events like this is the person that does the most work never gets recognized. So, Molly, give a hand for Molly for planning all this. So, thank you very much. I know she's worked tirelessly for this. So, again, thank you all for being here. I don't want to hold up. I know Allie's going to be tight with the timer, so I don't want to be the first bell ringer. But I am outside to the right. If you have any questions about Innovate Newport, who we are, what we do, who we serve, ask me, okay? If it's not today, I'm here all the time. I'd be happy to show you around. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I want to thank our sponsor, which is the Greater Newport Chamber of Commerce, who really put together a prize package for our winners. So we will have a first prize winner and a second prize winner. There are 12 pitchers today. I also want to thank a few other organizations that donated to that package, that prize package. So I want to thank WADK Radio and Mix 99.3 for marketing assistance, as well as Newport This Week for marketing assistance and services. I want to thank Silva, Thomas, Martland, and Offenberg for legal services in this package, and as well as the Simple Merchant Coffee Shop, who donated free coffee to all of our exhibitors. And they're here today, so check them out. They have the coffee shop down on our first floor, and we're so fortunate to have them here. Now I'd like to introduce our judges. Our panel of judges is over here to your right, my left. We have Carmen Diaz-Jacino, who is the Vice President of Community Development Officer at Bank Newport. We have Peter Dorsey, who is the President of the Business Development Company. And we have Beth Carter, who is Executive Director of the Rhode Island Business Competition. All three have experience running these pitch competitions and being judges, so I'm very grateful to them for being here. So I just want to really clarify what's coming up in the agenda here. So shortly, we will bring up the pitchers one at a time. We have 12 of them. They will have 3 minutes to share a few slides with you and tell you about their startup company and also articulate what they would use the prize package for, why it would be valuable to them if they were to win. It's hard 3 minutes. We have Allie from Social Enterprise Greenhouse over here. Vanna White. She will be using a timer. She will give them a 20-second warning to wrap it up, and then she will click the bell. Can we do a demonstration? So that will be a hard stop, okay? Then we will turn to the judges, and if they have a question, they may ask one question of each pitcher. And the pitcher will have 1 minute max to respond, and then they will get dinged. Okay. Then once we've gone through all 12 pitches, I will dismiss the judges to deliberate, and we are honored to have a special guest today to do a startup success story. So we'll be entertained a bit there until the judges have come back, and we'll announce the 2 prizes, take a few photos, and then at the end of the event. Okay, anybody have any questions? Okay, awesome. Just so you know, that the pitchers were asked they had to have a focus on the Greater Newport area. They had to be an established business 5 years or younger, and they were asked to explain what they would do with their winnings. Okay, so I'm just going to go over and change my slideshow, and we're going to start with our first pitcher, Kydell Fuller from Aquidneck Fabrication. Welcome.
Hello. Is it on? Cool. So if I start now, do we get extra time? Oh, dang. Cool. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out, and I'm happy to tell you a little bit about Aquidneck Fabrication this afternoon. Aquidneck Fabrication, we are a 3D printing and 3D modeling company. And so what that means is we take 3D designs within a CAD program and we turn them into a 3D model, a physical model to be exact, that can be used by businesses such as architectural firms, yacht manufacturers, and startups that are doing prototyping, which I saw a couple around here. How do we operate? Aquidneck Fabrication, we operate in a very simple step process. We want to keep it simple because we want people to be able to use us when they haven't quite figured out where they want to end up and where they are going. So we start out by connecting with our clients, then we conceptualize with our clients, and then we produce and model the 3D model in-house, and then we deliver the model to basically turn their idea or their imagination into a creation. And you imagine, we create is actually our motto. And you can see up there, that is actually a Newport architecture company, Hercworks, shout out to them, Dan Herc, and a model from the start to the finish. Why do we exist? Aquidneck Fabrication exists to help people, as I previously mentioned, to turn their ideas into creations. And the reason that we came up with that is because when we were growing up, me and my co-founder Will, we found out that many times we would get into a situation, being the engineers and tinkerers that we are, that we were going to produce something, but we didn't quite know where to start and where to finish. And a lot of our schools and our classes would either streamline this process and remove all the creativity by saying, okay, you're just going to create a PowerPoint, or you're just going to type this 5-paragraph essay, and it didn't seem as creative to us. And we found out that a lot of people also had this issue, and so we wanted to turn their ideas also into creations beyond just a PowerPoint. The $1,000 impact. This is the important side, I think, right? So we want to turn the $1,000 into a growth point for our business. We want to turn it into getting something such as this laser cutter right here, which will allow us to expand our horizons for 3D printing. By doing that, we will be able to add on many different aspects of 3D printing to add on a new creation of 3D printing with 3D laser cutting by adding on many different features to our prints. So that was a very quick pitch. I want to keep it within 2 minutes, but I want to tell you a little bit about why I started Aquidneck Fabrication. So I started this in high school in 2019 after taking one class on engineering, but it turned out to be 3D printing. With that 3D printing class, that's when it spiraled into what is now Aquidneck Fabrication. I was gratefully given a 3D printer from St. Michael's, which is here in Newport. I brought it to Fab Newport, which is also in Newport, and had it fixed up from there. And now we have Aquidneck Fabrication.
Thank you, Kydell. Actually, give me a second for a question. Do the judges have any questions?
Keep it easy. I only have a minute.
Thank you. Tell me a little bit about the competition. Do you have competitors? Is there other companies doing the same thing here?
That is a very hard question because it's different for every single one of these points up here. But I'm going the wrong way. But basically, architecture competition, in-house, they'll do this 3D modeling if they're a big enough company. Yacht modeling, there are half models that are made out there, but they're very pricey, so that's where we beat them there. And then the prototyping, there are other 3D manufacturing companies, or 3D printing companies.
Thank
It wasn't that hard.
you. Thank you, Kydell. Next up, we have Kevin Rosa with Current Lab.
So Current Lab is an oceanography company working to finally make ocean data accessible and usable. Our first product is this powerful platform for visualizing high-resolution ocean currents. And so if you come to the back later, you can see this is showing currents for Narragansett Bay. So today, ocean data is completely out of reach for the vast majority of potential users. First of all, you can't find the databases. Once you find the database, you don't know what data to use. You basically need an expert oceanographer to help you decode it. Once you pick some data, the files are massive and they're not in any format that you've ever used before. And finally, there's a good chance that the region that you want is simply not covered because there's so many gaps in the existing data coverage. So with Current Lab, we take all possible public data sets, convert them into like a standardized format for our algorithm, and then we also run high-resolution hydrodynamic models to fill in gaps in existing data sets. So that's a data set that I created for the Tokyo Olympics. And we blend it all together into this virtual ocean so that as the user, you can just pick any point in the world and instantly get the best data. You don't have to understand the physics going on in the background. And you can either access it through our app or you can use it with your existing hardware, like your GPS chart plotter if you're on a boat. Sailors are major early adopters, so that's been our market so far. But we're in discussions with Newark, and we've had some users in the ocean science world. And there's obviously a lot of other markets that are using ocean data and need better data, and they need to be more easy to use and accessible. So finally, I'm just going to mention where we're at as a company. So I started just as a kind of secret weapon guy who would create custom high-resolution models for the America's Cup or the Tokyo Olympics, and the data never went outside of that group. It was all private. But in 2021, I decided to go full-time with Current Lab and build this app and try to grow a subscription-based model, get a bunch of users, really lower the price, and make this ocean data far more accessible. With the $1,000, I need to hire a freelance mobile app developer to convert our demo into an iPhone and Android app so it can be on the mobile app stores. And ultimately, I want to be creating the best ocean data in the future. So there's an upcoming new Earth system model being developed by the Department of Energy, and within 5 years, I want to be running a global forecast model that covers everywhere in the world, and is also inputting data from this ongoing ocean drone revolution. Thank you.
Nice job, Kevin. Any questions from the judges?
Yeah, I understand you're aggregating the data, and I guess my question would be, you're not going to go after, it's hard to go after every market that you've identified at the same time, so if you had to organize your market segments by the pain point that they're going to get up in the morning and do something different and change how they're spending their money, mainly buying from you, how do you prioritize your top 2 or 3?
So I prioritize sailors because the barriers to entry are so minimal versus like contracting with the government. Also, they only care about surface currents, so that really that makes all the technology a lot simpler right now. And they basically, there's one kind of file format that all of their tools use. So sailors are my best starting point because it's a really large market, really simple to get into that market, but it's relatively, the technology is easier than some of the stuff I'm looking at with underwater unmanned vehicles.
So much, Kevin. Next up, we have Carter Richardson with East Passage Boat Rights.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Carter Richardson. I'm the owner and founder of East Passage Boat Rights in Bristol, Rhode Island. I'm excited to introduce to you the East Passage 24. She is a classically inspired and traditionally built all-wood center console launch. She derives her design from the multiple pleasure and fishing boats that have worked on New England coast for the last century and more. She is powered by a Yanmar 150 turbo diesel engine, cruises beautifully at 15 knots, and then tops out at 24 knots. East Passage is not a startup. We have been in business now for 15 years, but what we have learned over those 15 years and what the 24 has really brought to the forefront is that the business needs to change. In the last 2 years, we have totally changed that business. We've relied in the past on restorations for our income, but there's a severe seasonal fluctuation in our market, which makes it impossible to plan for the future. And also hiring a labor force, because you've got such a long period in the summer and the early fall as no work happening, makes it very difficult to hire people. Bottom line is that there's been very little, it's been incredibly hard to grow the business. So with East Passage 24, we turned our company into a semi-custom production line. The 24 gives us a reliable workforce, or a reliable work source coming into the shop. As we grow, where shop capacity has the ability to build 3 boats in separate stages of development. Over that time, as we bring more boats in, we can hire more people, and that takes care of that whole fluctuating employee problem. Biggest thing going forward is that this will allow the business to grow, because we can look into the future. But our biggest problem, or not our biggest problem, but our biggest hurdle now for the 24 is visibility. We launched her back in September for the Newport International Boat Show. She had a great response there. But outside of Newport and Rhode Island and a few people in New England, very few people know about her. So I'm lucky enough to walk away with a little bit of money today. I'd look into advertising in the wooden boat-centric periodicals out there, including Classic Boat, and also Wooden Boat Magazine. This allows me to start getting the word out, and as we all know, media begets media, and the pump gets primed, and we start building hulls, multiple hulls at one time. Thank you very much.
So I understand how you want to expand, but I'm not really clear exactly outside of this area what the next target market is.
So outside of, you're saying outside of the Newport area? So this is a boat that will do well up and down the East Coast, from Annapolis up to down East Maine. It's a boat that will perform incredibly well on those waters. So looking to my expansion is the fact that we not only are building these boats, but then we go out and care for them. So if I have a boat up in Maine, I go up and pick the boat up, bring it back to the shop, work on it, service it over the winter, and then bring it back to the client. So that's really where the business does then jump up quite a bit.
Thank you, Carter. Please welcome Ben Sorkin with Flux Marine.
So if we look around, we see this tremendous electrification revolution in the automotive industry. But what about boats? There's still nothing there. There's no good electric solution for boats. At Flux Marine, our goal is to revolutionize marine electrification technology and bring forth the best boating experiences. Owning a boat is not like owning a car. They're expensive and can be unreliable. Countless times have we geared up to head out on a lake when broken spark plugs, gaskets, or flywheels cost us the weekend. That's why many people know boat to stand for bust out another 1,000. It's true. On top of that, tens of thousands of waterways across the U.S. are banning gasoline engines. The environmental impact of gas boats is severely underestimated. Operating a family-sized boat for 1 hour can release the equivalent pollution of driving a car for 800 miles. The EPA has estimated that over 150 million gallons of unburned gasoline are released into our waterways every year. This is an order of magnitude greater than the Exxon Valdez oil spill. On top of that, boats and outboard engines still do not have catalytic converters, and carbon monoxide poisonings are not uncommon. And that is why we have set out to electrify the marine industry with a complete line of ground-up, all-electric outboards. We are achieving this because we have redesigned the outboard from the ground up to truly utilize the advantages of electric propulsion. We do not use any legacy gas components and have developed an innovative technology suite around powertrain, thermal management, and battery systems. We are enhancing the boating experience. Long gone will be the days of winterization, oil changes, or hoping the fuel docks are still open. The ride is quiet, remarkably smooth, and exhilarating. Flux Marine is selling standalone all-electric outboard motors from 15 to 150 horsepower, complete and custom boat packages, and we're developing comprehensive fleet management software, bringing the power of big data to an antiquated industry. It's a big business. We have made tremendous progress in attacking this huge market opportunity. We recently unveiled our tech at the Newport International Boat Show, where we won 2 awards and have garnered significant pre-orders. We are currently raising a Series A round to expand our team, and any money won here today would go directly toward customer discovery. Please join us on our mission as we seek to electrify the marine industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Question?
So once you design the product, you can have a better mousetrap, but going to market and what you're talking about in terms of manufacturing and distribution networks can be very capital expensive. And what's your high-level strategy in terms of leveraging strategic partners versus trying to do it yourself?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and it comes down to staging. So we're going to market next summer with 25 to 50 motors, really scaling up in a way to get really great customer feedback. As we do that, we are already in conversations with a handful of hull OEMs, a couple hull OEMs that even invested in our company. That will help us streamline the process for distribution partners, where we can sell direct to consumers to repower boats, and at the same time sell direct to OEM companies to then utilize their distribution strategies going forward.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Next up, we have Ian Estefan Owen with Jaya Robotics.
Good afternoon. My name is Ian Estefan Owen. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Jaya Robotics, which is based right here in Innovate Newport. So I've got a few questions to ask. Is climate change real? Right now, the UN has issued a code red for humanity. The US assesses climate change as one of the top 4 risks to our society. This is real, folks. Jaya Robotics is not going to stop climate change. What we can do is that we can collect data at a scale more affordably, more quickly, less expensively than any other system that's on the market currently. And that data can be used to feed the models that better predict climate change, and then we can start planning what are we going to do about its impacts. We live in the ocean state. The ocean state probably has significantly more impacts than any other part of the country. We have to do something about it. One of the things that Jaya Robotics will do, based on our market assessment, the economy for environmental monitoring in 2026 is going to be $26 billion. For water monitoring, $4 billion. We are working with customers in the US Army, the US Navy, the USGS, environmental monitoring, where we estimate that our bottoms-up forecast based on their inputs and their budgets as they get more and more money to address climate change could be in the order of $100 million in 5 years' time. That's going to bring jobs here, high-tech jobs, it's bring manufacturing here. This is an awesome opportunity for Rhode Island. What am I going to do with $1,000? I'm actually going to reinvest it in coming and getting a desk full-time at Innovate Newport. Because I'm damn tired of working in my bedroom. And with regards our brand awareness, we're in a seed round right now looking for investment. That marketing will be invaluable for us to get the message out, promote our brand, and hopefully get the investment that we need to make this not a dream, but a reality. Thank you.
I guess my question, we already had one speaker talk about, and the algorithms to map the underwater currents. So there's a market out there, but
What's your competition in that market?
That's a great question, Pete. And we've done a lot of research on this, and I've been working in the industry for, 12 years now. There are lots and lots of really big vehicles, really expensive vehicles, that are used to autonomously collect data in the ocean. They're difficult to launch, often dangerous to recover, and they cost a lot of money. And when one of those goes missing, a lot of questions get asked. Our GIBot, which works in teams of 1 to 20 vehicles, costs less than 10K each. You lose a 10K vehicle, yeah, you're pretty bummed out, but you're not going to lose your job. So, in the microsize market, we are the only player in town right now. Nobody's focused on it. Everybody's focused on the big, large-scale underwater survey operations.
Thank you. Thank you. And next up is Gary Evans with Next Gen Moving. And let me just have to say thank you for staying on time. You guys are doing a great job.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. So happy to be here. I actually want to start off by asking you guys a question. Have you ever tried to move before and didn't have a reliable source of transportation? Or a friend agrees to help you move and they cancel on you at the very last minute? Well, I've definitely ran into those problems during my time at Johnson & Wales. So here at Next Gen Moving, we're creating a two-sided marketplace connecting drivers with trucks to customers, where you can simply book a move to your next apartment or dorm and get an instant price quote. Focusing primarily on the college and urban market, this enables the 78,000 college students in Rhode Island to have access to reliable moving service. With no direct competition, students are stuck with either having to pay for a U-Haul or paying outrageous prices with traditional moving companies. Not only do college students face these problems, but really, anyone living within an urban community eventually will also face these issues. But we're not here to only talk about you moving over to your next apartment or home. I want to ask you guys another question. Have you guys ever tried to order a large piece of furniture and had no way of bringing it home? Now imagine being able to order that piece of furniture or a large in-stock item and have it delivered to you all within just a few hours. So with a service like Next Gen Moving, that's now possible. As our fleet continues to grow, we'll be looking to partner with local retail stores, as with the last mile delivery market is currently sitting at $18 billion, expected to grow to $62 billion by 2027. And this is an important part of our growth here at Next Gen Moving. Our team and I currently have our forecasted revenues for 2023 at $1.6 million with a growth rate of 39% year over year. My team and I currently consist of 3 additional co-founders, including myself, 2 of which are developing our software, and our COO, who works in our go-to-market strategies. If we were to win the prize money today, we would use those funds towards our marketing and insurance expenses. My team and I are currently anticipating a January 2022 beta launch, and we're currently finalizing the last needed pieces we need so we can start testing our MVP product before it goes live. My name is Gary Evans. I'm the CEO and founder of Next Gen Moving. Thank you so much.
So you mentioned there's 78,000 college students, but how many are relocating from one part of Rhode Island to another? Because many come from out of state or even overseas. So how do you really narrow down that number?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And overall, I wanted the number of college students in Rhode Island, but we'll definitely be marketing towards the college students, mainly the freshmen, coming from on campus to off campus, which I know I dealt with that issue when I was moving on campus to off campus. So, definitely there's a lot of marketing strategy right there on the on-campus housing.
Thank you, Gary. Next up, we have Allison Cody with Ocean State Shields.
Let's get this party started. All right, hey everybody. My name is Allison Cody. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Ocean State Shields. We are a public health solutions enterprise and also an innovation micro incubator. So, when we look at this, you know, originally I could always come up and give everyone a bunch of statistics about how awful the past year and a half has been, but everybody knows this, and it's also a really terrible way to tell our story. So what I'd like to do instead is really talk brass tacks. My co-founder and I launched this company last year during the pandemic, and we did it for a really specific reason. We saw businesses starting to close. We saw people losing their jobs. We saw our friends losing their jobs. We saw schools switching to remote learning, and we wanted to do something. I also, unfortunately, lost my father to complications of COVID, so that proved to be both a very sobering and motivating moment. This is our team. This is me and my co-founder, Todd Thomas. He is an amazing architect, industrial designer, and engineer. And you can see that we are also flanked by a highly credentialed advisory board, which has helped kind of steer us along the way. But what you might know us best for is actually our igloos. And we designed and manufactured those last fall in response to Take It Outside. They are currently the only fire code and ADA compliant igloos available nationally, period. I don't care what you read online, that is not the case. And it has proven to work. The model actually works. We were able to help just about 100 businesses survive last winter. They were able to generate over $2 million using our innovations, stay open about 44,000 plus hours, and help their team members support their families and earn paychecks, as opposed to relying on unemployment insurance or just not having an income, period. We do also have another few different sets of products. We also have antimicrobial surface adherents that we use with places like Roger Williams University and Sprout Coworking. We're also working with my alma mater, UMass Dartmouth, in the development of a very innovative air filter which retrofits over your existing air filtration system. It does it for a lot less money, and it's much more effective. So what we would actually be doing, what kind of is our growth plan, because we did accelerate so quickly. We are currently part of a very prestigious and competitive global incubator, New Chip. We are looking to negotiate some exclusive contracts. We do have one in place with Wayfair. We're also working with some other large retailers to take this national and set up distribution points nationally. But what are we going to do with our prize should we win? Easy. We're actually going to use it to shoot some drone video footage and marketing for our version 3.0, which is about to launch next month. So I'm happy to take any questions, but thank you all so much.
Thank you, Allison.
Allison, I guess my question would be from a regulatory perspective, when you make claims about, you know, the microbial and the fireproofing, I mean, are you subject to any levels of certifications, and from who?
Okay, so we're talking just specifically to the antimicrobials? Yes. Yes, we do have the Igloo is NFPA level 2 fire code rated for compliance, and that exists on a national level. It's also, we've achieved ADA compliance. For the antimicrobials, we are currently working with the EPA to have that product for labeling purposes finalized, although all the ingredients are EPA approved. However, there is a use that we are working on with regard to food waste and transport of produce that actually we can hit the ground running. So everything is progressing along or is currently exists that we've already achieved those regulatory approvals.
Thank you, Allison. Next up, we have Joe Lee with Pop-Up Roadie.
All right, I want to make sure I have this straight. It's this big button, and I point it like that. I don't have to point it. Whoa. Technology. This is going to be dangerous. Oh, wait, yes. Okay. Hi, I'm Joe. I founded Pop-Up Roadie.
Airbnb for pop-ups, right? So rather than listing rooms for rent, businesses list space for short-term rentals, or what we like to call pop-ups. And it is a very simple formula, right? So if you have space, you go to Pop-Up Rhody and you list it. And then if you need space, you go to Pop-Up Rhody, you find space, and you pop up in it. So here's a real case example. Providence Place Mall went to Pop-Up Rhody, and they listed their space, right? They put pictures, they put a price, they put a description, just like Airbnb. Selena, an amazing skincare company, went to Pop-Up Rhody, and they saw that Providence Place Mall was listing space, and they're like, oh my God, I totally want to pop up in that space. So they created Market October, happening this weekend at the mall. They took over a nice chunk of space at the mall. They will be popping up in the marketplace with 25 other vendors. So now you can pair local shopping with a movie. And let's see here. And Pop-Up Rhody is not just for retail. You can pop up for a whole slew of reasons. So for example, you could pop up in a space for meeting or for a gallery or for an event, a wedding, right? You can take over space for all these different things, right? And here's a couple examples. This business is listed space, extra space. They have their office for somebody to pop up for a meeting. This store over here is a store in Newport. They're listing their space. You can totally take over the space for a couple months during the winter when they will not be using it, right? Oh, and look at that Ocean State Shield. So you can, it's free to list on Pop-Up Rhody. Pop-Up Rhody adds a commission at checkout, just like Airbnb. And okay, so the importance, we have all seen disruption in the commercial real estate space. Pop-Up Rhody adapts brick and mortar to a sharing economy, right? It turns businesses' extra space into bursts of revenue for businesses that have space and businesses that need it without having to engage in a long-term lease. How would I use the money? I would use the money to promote social media posts about pop-ups that are organized on Pop-Up Rhody, right? So that I'm adding value to the pop-ups that are organized on Pop-Up Rhody, and then at the same time, I'm showcasing the value of Pop-Up Rhody. So, Airbnb, now go to Pop-Up Rhody.
Thank you, Joe. No questions.
All right.
All right, please welcome Adam Reisberg with Rent Beetle.
Thanks everyone for having me out today. My company is called Rent Beetle. I have two partners, Laura Crick, she's our Chief Marketing Officer, and Jeffrey St. Onge, she's our Chief Technical Officer. And our company is called Rent Beetle. Your off-campus experience starts with us. So what are we? We are a real estate software company that specifically is niched down into college rentals. We provide a streamlined rental process from beginning to end where college students are able to go onto our web-based mobile application and rent the spaces they want when they want them. Fun fact, the student rental market is worth a fragmented $4.1 billion in commissions. So how it works. Rent Beetle goes into college towns, and we partner up with agencies and schools. We deploy extensive marketing initiatives through digital marketing and on-campus marketing in order to get students onto our website and booking showings. Students go to showings where college rentals are usually take place, and when they find a place that they love, they're able to submit applications, sign leases, and submit a security deposit all from their home. We take a 2-week process and we condense it into an hour-long process. Another fun fact, Rent Beetle had a September to October revenue of $53,000. We work at a 30% profit margin and was able to secure about 28% of the Salve Regina student rental market. Importance. Students are wildly misrepresented in the student rental market across the nation. And this isn't because agencies are taking advantage of them, it's because agencies have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the landlords that they represent. So naturally, leases are written for landlords, and they totally disregard the students. Rent Beetle wants to be the first company nationwide that really represents the students well. There's also fierce competition between students to get the best houses whenever they want them. So through our clients, through our process, are able to utilize our web-based mobile application to rent the houses they want when they want them. We believe that this is the future of renting your home. So we should be able to walk into a unit, look around, love it, and then right there with the agent in front of you, submit your application, sign your lease, submit your deposit, all within a few minutes. Our studies show that students spend anywhere between 3 weeks and 6 weeks finding and securing their off-campus home. This is time that needs to be spent on academics and athletics. So with our $1,000 grand prize, we want to invest in a QR code program that places QR codes in every single student rental in Newport and beyond. So students are going to be able to walk into their friends' houses, see a place that they really love, and instead of having to waste time going through an agency, they're going to be able to scan and then sign their lease right from their phone. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Questions? I do have one question. Yeah. Thank you. My question is, your company is going to be protecting and actually advocating more for the students. As a landlord, how am I going to have all the security and, let's say, back protection that I'm supposed to have as a landlord?
Yes, that's a great question. So we team up with not landlords, but agencies. And those agencies are the ones who represent you. So we actually don't work with landlords directly. We only work with students. So we're aiming to bring students to agencies who have student rentals in a specific college town. So you're represented on your side, we're represented on our side, and we can come together to create a co-broking situation.
Thank you, Adam. Next, we have Dr. Sarah Nadampally. Hope I said that right.
Sure did. It's always a hard.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm a nurse, I'm a researcher, but mostly I'm doing the mom job these days. And due to my own caregiving crisis and the crisis many women are going through, I created an online course for parents and nannies to both take to get on the same page with the same knowledge and action steps. So this is a swift and simple online course that both sides sit down and participate in just for about a couple hours, and it's for that average parent searching on the CareFinder site. Has anybody searched care.com or Sittercity? Few people here, and you know how scary and difficult and hard it is to trust, to look at this sea of strangers thinking about them taking care of your kids. And so in this population, you will find mostly a starter or entry-level nanny. So I customized this course bearing in mind those two populations. So parents have little resources outside of this course in lieu of working with nanny agencies. Nanny agencies can charge between $3,000 to $10,000 per match and in offering this information that I offer inside the course. This is a high quality, efficient course reviewed by nanny industry experts. It's been beta tested and launched with some sales, and we have a growing social media and subscription list. So inside our course, we have these 4 modules that create a basic framework for parents and nannies to work together, covering the important nanny industry standards that so many parents and newer nannies don't even know. We address those tricky relationship issues. We cover the critical search, hire, and onboarding process for parents that they are not in the know about at all. And we provide a mini training for those entry-level nannies to really onboard and provide quality care in the home the right way. We have these 3 specific action steps. Parents indicate their wishes and their needs. They think about it. They match that with a particular nanny and how she practices and her own boundaries, or he. And then they go through a work agreement and take a quiz together to make sure that they're on the same page. And you can certainly tour the course if you like. Again, we're experiencing a huge childcare crisis. 3 million women have left the workforce and would love a one-to-one nanny model, but have very few resources. We are lacking a village of support, and so this will provide high-quality childcare in the home. A lot of people don't know what the standard nanny role entails and nanny industry standards and how that is incorporated into the nanny practice. Our novel online course makes clear this necessary baseline knowledge and action steps. Nothing like this currently exists for parents and nannies, and we're linking up with CareFinder sites as I speak so that we can hopefully distribute this to a wide range, millions perhaps, of parents and nannies to make their lives easier, and all of this good stuff trickles down to the lives of children. So how will these funds be used? I want to build a robust marketing plan which includes a targeted Facebook ad strategy, and then I want to run those ads to a funnel system and webinar that will hopefully entice millions of parents and nannies to take it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Any questions?
Maybe you could, I'll give you a little extra time to talk about your go-to-market strategy, because the same comment I made earlier, you can have the better mousetrap, but how do you align yourself with people besides the click advertising, keywords and stuff to get market visibility?
Thank you so much. Such a great question. So I'm currently in talks with some of these CareFinder platforms. They're more moderate size compared to Care.com. I'm a little nervous Care.com might hear about my quality control measure and want to adopt it. So I'm working with some of these moderately sized CareFinder platforms who will serve as affiliate links. So for every unit of the course they sell through their platform, one has 8,000, another has about 12,000 parents and nannies, both in the active search process. So we want to really narrow in on the active searching customer segments, which are really both nannies and parents. And so through that affiliate relationship, that business that works with me will take a percentage of each course sale. It's an excellent source of passive income and provides an incredible quality control measure for their platform.
Thank you, Sarah. Next up, we have Andrew Crowder with SmartCore.
Thank you. I'm Andrew Crowder. I'm the founder of SmartCore. I am super excited to make change and help other businesses make change. SmartCore is a SaaS platform for owner-operated gyms and for personal trainers. Through this platform, they get access to scheduling services, payment services, class and management services, both for themselves and for their clients. From the SaaS side, it's quite interesting. We can set up within about 5 minutes for them a public-facing website. We can set up for them a web app and a mobile app where they can go to market with their clients. This can be for them to run from anywhere. Personal trainers in particular might be doing stuff outside these days, in the park, running around. They need to be able to communicate with their clients simply and easily and run their business from anywhere. SmartCore does that for them. We've already working with sort of small businesses in the Rhode Island area. So I met Steve a couple years ago. He runs an amazing gym out of Warwick called Steel Curtain Boxing and is a huge help for the community. When he started running this, he ran everything from his phone and on paper. He didn't know, when he had classes, he didn't know who was coming. He didn't know if they were full or empty when they showed up, and he had a really hard time communicating out with his members. This allowed him to much more easily run his business, communicate with his members, and do the things that he didn't know how to do. He wouldn't even have had a website if one of his members said, hey, do you want me to build you a website on Squarespace? He goes, sure, do I need that? But these small gyms and small platforms are really important to their communities. They're bringing those folks together and giving them a service that they don't normally have. What we want to provide is a service for them to help them grow in a way that's easy. They don't have to learn they can learn a few fewer skills than learning to be a web developer or SEO expert. If we were to win the money, we'd use it in a couple different ways. One, I think the money is be a huge help for us locally to run a print campaign out to these local businesses. We've done about 100 businesses just in the Rhode Island area alone that could benefit us. We want to do a direct mail out to them, followed up by a call campaign. The other thing that I'm really, really excited about actually is the audio spots on the radio. I think that's a great way for us to get our message out. Small business owners don't have time to lift their heads and understand what they're doing. But when they passively hear this stuff or it gets put in front of them, that's when they can start to understand where to change their business to be more efficient and productive with what they do. I've been building this platform for about a year and been really helpful with them. We've got the beta out there. It's been out there for a year on the mobile side. We've released the website. It's been out for about 6 months. We're looking to grow this going forward, and I'm really excited to help small businesses change and do more with what they've got.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
What if the small business owner already has a website with maybe some kind of scheduling?
Sure, yeah.
And how does that, do they have to start from scratch again with you, or can you integrate it in some fashion?
So there are actually competitors out there and other platforms that offer this. So our target market right now is probably the 50% of gyms that we found that have nothing. They would be the original. Going beyond that, we would go to start to poach from the competitors. Right now, most experiences are they have a website that they've built through some process, and then they tack on a scheduling service. When they use that scheduling service, they leave. It's disruptive for the customer, and it doesn't really provide them what they need. Also, they don't have a good mobile experience for their members. So what we've seen out of the market is it just doesn't exist where it's cohesive for those users. So for the ones that don't have it, we would offer a full platform. For the ones that we do, we'd hope to supplant or potentially offer an add-in down the road.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Last but not least, we have Sarah Emhoff with The Huddle.
Great. So nice to meet a few people in person that I've met on Zoom. I'm Sarah Emhoff. I am the Chief Experience Officer of The Huddle, and I have a question for you. How many of you picked up some kind of craft or hobby over the last year and a half? Okay, a few of you. And how many of you have felt isolated or lonely at some point in the last year and a half and are willing to admit it? The Huddle is here because your social health is actually a greater predictor of your lifelong happiness and your lifespan than your physical fitness levels. So drop your gym clothes and start hanging out with people. So what is The Huddle? We are here in local Newport, and we're like a gym for your social emotional health. We have open co-work space a couple days a week for those remote workers who need to be around other humans. We offer off-site meetings and team building space. And for the creativity, we offer workshops led by local artists and entrepreneurs. You can come get your play and make on with other people. There's just a couple of examples of what we've been doing the last couple of months here. So the story, I myself was a remote worker for about 8.5 years, and I left an organization that I loved because working remotely killed my mental health. I felt like I didn't belong anymore. It was tough. So I left. And when COVID happened, I thought, oh goodness, a lot of people are going to feel the same way I did. I started virtual huddles where we brought strangers into a Zoom room, and we did a team building experience with people from all over. Started with 10 people I knew who didn't know each other, and it grew into people coming in from all over the world. And what I learned in that experience is that people were play deprived, and the value of creating together was so great for their health. We started measuring pre and post how people were feeling. And so I knew we needed to create more spaces for people to create and play together so we can have an agile mindset to go through the change that we're going through and uncertainty. So that's kind of how it started. But as the new year turned, I thought, I don't want to be on Zoom the rest of my life. And I've been doing this for companies, and I continue to do this for companies. And so I wanted to shift to a physical space. And so we created The Huddle, and I like to do team building and bring people together, but there's so many artists and entrepreneurs around here that can create experiences that people can connect and get to know each other over a creation. So they're making plants together, they're building mocktails together, you name it. So how is this going to help, and why do we need it? Local residents, burnout and depression are at an all-time high. You've read this in the news. The Great Resignation is on the rise. And we need creative social spaces to feed our social emotional health. Companies are looking for meaningful team building. And small businesses, this becomes an intersection of online business and their brick and mortars. They can pop up in a space and share what they need. And then for Newport, let's be a year-round experience place where people can come and create together. So all of the funding will help literally, this is a small baby business, and $1,000 to a marketing team that I just brought on this week to expand our outreach. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Any questions? Good, no questions.
All right.
All right, that concludes the portion of the pitching. Well done, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm totally inspired, and I'm going to check out your websites again. I encourage everybody to do that. But really, it takes a lot of your passion and vision really came through. So thank you. I also want to thank the other exhibitors that exhibited out in the hall for coming, because they're really interesting organizations, and I hope that you had a chance to visit at their table. And if not, please do so on your way out. So thank you, exhibitors. It's at this time I'm going to dismiss our panel of judges, and they are going to go deliberate and make a decision. All of the pitchers will have a free co-working day at Innovate Newport and a free cup of coffee from the Simple Merchant. And I've also invited them to be featured on a blog post for both Innovate Newport and Greater Newport Chamber of Commerce. We definitely want to continue to support you and have a connection with you. So thank you, judges. We'll see you in a bit. And we have the pleasure now of hearing a startup success story. I'd like to introduce Drew Carey, who is the CEO of Inspire Environmental. Nick, could you hit the lights? Thank you. Would you like this one? You can have this one.
Sure, I guess so. Thank you, Molly. This is like warming up the stand-up, thing. I'm just keeping you and your nerves down while you wait for your $1,000. So I'm the CEO of Inspire Environmental. We're on the top floor of this building, and I certainly invite you to drop by, and knock on the door, since everything's locked here. We're happy to show you around and talk about our business. So Inspire Environmental started 6 years ago. We now have 20 employees and an average salary of about $95,000. So this is the kind of startups that Rhode Island really needs, among others, obviously. There's across the range. But we are looking for, blue tech, a lot of other kinds of techs, and hopefully high-paying jobs. So how did we get here? First of all, I'm a serial entrepreneur, I have to admit. This is my 4th startup. They were all successful, and we're not talking failure here. But this is kind of the culmination of a whole series of different ideas that I had. And what I noticed from all of your pitches, there's 2 things in particular. One, you clearly have a vision. Right? You articulated the vision. The vision is what's driving you right now. And secondly, you've decided or done some work and said, the market's ready for my vision. And I think those are absolutely the 2 key pieces that you've got to have in hand at the startup point. So my first startup was in 1999, so there's a pretty long sort of history here and a lot of lessons learned and a lot of ups and downs. In 1998, I had a vision, and I wrote it down in a little book, and about 3 months ago, I was roaming through my stuff, kind of trying to remind myself when things happen, and I stumbled upon what I'd written down at that time, and I was stunned because I've actually realized that vision. I mean, word for word. Now you may think, I don't have 23 years to wait. I mean, I'm going to have it going next year. And you probably will. But that vision evolved over time. And so I think what I wanted to share is a few lessons learned about sustainability. Startups are many, and burnouts and dropouts are many as well. And you obviously want to survive that initial exciting moment when you define a market, you find your way into that market, your vision is being realized, and things happen really fast, generally. There's kind of a curve of, just decisions get made quickly, you're churning along. And then there comes generally a period in business development where, as you begin to scale a little bit, all of a sudden you hit something that has often been called white water, where all of a sudden, when I was starting that first business, I'd turn around, I'd talk to my contracts department, I'd turn around, I'd talk to marketing. They were all me. So it was really easy for me to make decisions, right? as things grew in this latest iteration, it was very quickly apparent, like, well, wait, who's making that decision? We're not really sure. So, you know, at that stage, it is really important to have a little bit of an awareness that maybe you've already come out of an existing business, or you have some idea of sort of business practices, is to ensure that you begin to develop process, you know, in a Goldilocks way, just enough. Not so much that it turns you into a dinosaur, but not so little that you are reactive and running around like your head's cut off. Two other things that are somewhat linked is that, at least in the business that I'm in, which is environmental consulting, and I already had about a decade of experience, it's a roller coaster. You go up, you don't have enough people, enough time to get things done, you have a ton of work, and then you go down. And you can't keep your people busy, and you're out there frantically trying to market, and then you go up again. And, you know, seasonal patterns, year to year, even decade to decade, you'll see these kinds of rise and fall. So to be sustainable, to be a survivor, one, you have to recognize, even though you plot your business plan and it's a nice straight line that goes up, I've done that, you know, whatever percent year-over-year growth, you know, up it goes. You're going to have some bumps, and an up bump is as difficult to deal with as a down bump. So, you know, buckle your seatbelt, be ready if you succeed. You know, you may have to deal with too much too soon. So that up and down, I think, also plays into another longer, perhaps, perspective, which is be prepared for the market changing. You think right now, hey, I've got an idea, the market's ready for me, it's right there. Well, guess what? 5 years from now, that may still be a market. You may create competition for yourself. The market may go away, or you could even see unexpected things like a global pandemic, any number of things that just knock the supports out from under you because that market just disappears. So I think having both an awareness of this uncertainty and being prepared to be as nimble as you are right now. So you're obviously nimble, you're coming in, you're saying, I've got a great idea, I want to sort of explore this. Over those 23 years, I've had to tack and weave to build on different markets. For example, when we started Inspire Environmental, 70% of our business was with one client in Alaska. They did seafood processing, biggest processor in the world, and they had polluted the ocean. And we had to help them reverse the trend that they were in. Well, 70% of your business from one client is not a good business plan. I think most of you would recognize that. So we very quickly had to develop other sources and clients, and we're now 70% in offshore wind. Well, again, you know, I'm looking at that and saying, well, we need to continue to seek out other markets. So that shifting market, you know, right now you can look at offshore wind, and many of you have targeted that. It's in an explosive growth phase. It's just unbelievable. But it's also drawing competitors and activity like crazy. And so it's going to be a churn for a number of years, and then it'll flatten out, because even though it's growing, there'll be a saturation in that market. And I know already that we have to begin looking, however much we plan in that market, we have to begin looking in some other places. So I think, you know, as you develop your business plans, as you start to get successful, you know, be aware that success can be a real burden. You really do have to prepare for that. And also, you know, figure out, well, I always call it sort of surfing the wave, that, you know, Ian and I are surfers, and you you sort of have this exciting moment where you're cruising along, and then all of a sudden you land on your head on the beach. And you just get up and go back out again. I mean, the persistence, the passion for what you do, that's what will sustain you. And you know, by recognizing that you have this vision, you have this moment, you see this opportunity, you really have to push through a lot of the things that I've described. By just believing in yourself, knowing that this is going to work out, you know, it took me 23 years, but you know, it's all right. You can actually get there, but it sometimes is very different from what you had imagined. And that, as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. Now, I've used a little more than 5 minutes. I guess I'd just say if you have any questions, I'm happy to either talk about our business or just, you know, generally the experience of doing this sort of stuff. Oh, sure.
I would just love, when do you, at what point, you know, when it gets, the going gets tough, when do you choose to keep plugging away and persevering, and is there a time to throw in the towel, and when?
You know, I don't have experience with the throwing in the towel. You know, I'm the sort of person who has like 5 ideas a day, and maybe one of them is decent. And so I just keep having new ideas about how to, and so I think more of a chameleon than throwing in the towel. I think I've evolved in terms of where I focus and what kind of focus I have. And I mean, obviously, cash flow is king. I assume you all know this, that, you know, you can do all the, and I went to many, many trainings. I mean, Rhode Island has tremendous resources, small business administration, the mentorship programs. More and more of these are occurring all the time. Social enterprise greenhouse, there's lots of resources. Tap into them, because, you know, I was not a business person when I started my business. I was a scientist, and I had to learn the business side in order to make an income. And I'm still learning that. So, you know, I very quickly realized that, you know, you can have a great revenue projection and run out of cash. Most startups fail because they run out of cash. That's well known. So get a great relationship with a bank, nurture that, and I'm serious, nurture that relationship. The pitches that you gave today, give those pitches to the banks, and find someone. The small business loan program in Rhode Island is very robust. You can find bankers that will hear you out, and they want to see a business plan, but you have to keep meeting with them and talking about how you're going to overcome the next hurdle that occurs. And honestly, that's what's kept me from having to bail out, is when I got down near the bottom, I just negotiated another loan. I mean, to be honest.
I think that's great advice, and I also think the power of networking. You know,
Oh gosh, yes, yeah. I mean, this is what's great about this building and this whole sort of organizational framework, and many of the things that we've been engaged in, both here and throughout the region as well as the state, is the networking is phenomenal. And how to put that best? I mean, again, when you have that vision and you start out, you kind of are, as I think someone mentioned, I'm afraid somebody's going to find out about my model. You know, you do have this kind of protective sense of, well, this is my vision. I don't want people to grab it before I'm ready. But the networking is absolutely foundational, because you learn from other people. I mean, Tuni's here. She's the water that nurtures so many gardens. You really need to connect with others, because they will teach you a lot about what you can do to avoid their mistakes. Yeah.
It's a great story that you gave. Okay. But one of the questions I have for this mic is so much better.
Well,
you know, I couldn't walk with that long.
She was withholding it.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'll stand up. But I liked your story, and one question I have to you, and I've actually Googled this and never found an answer, but what do you think turns a startup into a business where it's no longer a startup? Because you mentioned your business still being a startup now, and by the numbers you mentioned, and by you being the success story, I would say it's a different answer. But I'm interested in hearing your outtake.
I don't think there's a hard and fast rule to that. I think that when so there's a concept of businesses that I started to describe that's kind of a curve when you go from being a startup where you have your widget fits the market and it's the right time in the right place. And honestly, when that's true, things happen relatively easily, because you right place, right time, right thing. Where you run into trouble, and when I think you begin to change from being a startup to a more mature business, is when during the scaling process, everything that you were doing before, it doesn't work anymore. Like you have to reinvent how you do things, how you communicate within the company, how you do your marketing, because all of a sudden there's somebody looked and said, oh, I can do that. So now you got a competitor. And you're scaling, and the challenges of scale are just incredible. And so obviously you study other groups and see how they did it. And then as you begin to develop that, then and again, I would use the word process. You're defining how you get through all those steps that you, among others, described. And then you just have to start training people to do that. And you can't just say, well, do it the way I do it. You have to have a rule book, so to speak, or a process that you can pass on. And I think when you hit that part, I think you're then you're becoming essentially a business. And I think what we found is there were people in our company who really loved process. Well, I've got about 20 employees now, so there's a lot of different kinds of people. I'm not one of those people. I'm very creative. I have ideas, I have vision, all that sort of stuff. What I know is I have to hire people who are good at process, who like implementing process, because I hate it. And they have to beat me up to make me follow my own process. So you need to have a variety of different people who have attributes. And we did a quick survey in our company in the first, 7 employees. 5 of them were visionaries. It was like, whoa, this is not going to go well. This is not good. We need to get some operators, people that just love getting stuff done. We need some people that love process, and people that kind of bring all that stuff together. So I think that's the point when you begin to realize, hey, the 3 of us, we need more people and we need more ways of doing things. So I don't know if that helps.
Great time to ask questions.
Sure.
I have a question. Going off of Leslie, this is my friend. We were just talking about scaling the business. So I come from the finance side, work with private equity, raised $3 billion for companies, and took a company public. Whereas Leslie's on the marketing side, and she believes in acquiring customers to scale. So my question to you is, what's the tipping point? You want to scale your business, you go through the money wise, because I say raise money. She says get customers.
Wow. I would say that I'm probably not the best one to answer that, because thus far we have tended to grow a little bit more organically at all 4 of the different businesses that I described. And we've not really scaled all that much. I mean, we're only 20 staff. I mean, most environmental consulting companies have 300, 3,000 employees, and most of them grew by acquiring companies like mine. So they just go out and they acquire, more companies. That's how they scale. I mean, the silly answer is, well, you have to have both, and one has to chase the other. Yeah. Oh gosh, I think without a robust recognition of who is going to buy your product you can't get capital. I mean, you have to have some understanding of the market to even begin to go to the capital side. And I think you've obviously raised money with private equity groups, and this is all the buzz now. There's lots of venture capital around. There's lots of stuff going on. And what I understand from having studied that is they're only interested in markets that are really growth, like just chugging along, and maintaining. Nobody wants to invest. I mean, you're not going to get outside capital. The bankers might take you on, but you would have to identify a clear market growth strategy to get capital. That's the way I would answer it. But I'm sure others have had, again, some of the businesses you're talking about are ones that could really scale. I don't happen to have one of those businesses. We are trying to figure out how to go beyond. Our basic business model is, dollars for hours. All right. So I bill people out at a certain rate. It's a service industry. Think of it as attorneys or lawyers or anything else, right? So the only way you scale is you just add more and more and more people. Well, that's a hard way to go. And what you have to do is you have to develop an SAS side or some element of what you're doing that can generate profit without adding more employees. So we're working on that. I'm not going to tell you how we're going to do it. Yeah.
Create an online course.
Well, there you go. So then I turn over everything I know? Okay, all right. There we go. The judges are struggling. Ian, yeah.
Hey, Adrian. So we've seen a few fits and starts in the offshore renewable market, and it's kind of being somewhat in tune with the change in the political environment.
Slightly.
Right now, it's pretty positive. Do you think the momentum that's behind offshore renewables now is unstoppable in terms of the immediate expansion and implementation of the Martha's Vineyard farm and stuff down in Virginia, etc.? Or do you think it's got a chance of being stalled again?
No, honestly, I have felt that it has been unstoppable for since the success of the Block Island wind farm. The reason I say that is because the money that is behind it is so enormous, and the profits that can be made are so large that these slowdowns and barriers and other sorts of issues are just bumps in the road. So how that plays out in terms of market share of different kinds of services, as you probably know, as I'm sure you know, there's a very distinct series of phases in that particular industry. There's the phase we're in right now is out there trying to understand what's offshore. We call it site assessment. Then there's a construction phase, and then there's 20 years of servicing and monitoring and keeping these things running. So there's a bump and a tail. And so we're focusing on the lifetime. We want to make sure we're in every single phase because that's a long, sustainable tail that you want to be in. And obviously your product is well suited for all three of those phases. So what I've noticed is massive amounts of money to get through that construction phase, and then real determination to keep the operating costs as low as possible, because at that point, you're not feeding fuel into these things. There's very low operating costs realistically. There's quite a bit of operation and maintenance, but there will be tremendous price pressure on that tail to keep it as flat as possible. Whereas in the gambling to get a lease, to build a thing, there's a little more willingness to you've seen the prices that they're paying for leases. So get in the market, maybe price isn't quite, but once you're out there, you're going to keep that operating cost low. But I don't think anything's going to stop it right now. Cool. Yeah. So keep going. tell you, it's tough. And it doesn't do any good to chop the $1,000 into little pieces because it's not going to get you anywhere. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Maybe it's softball, but since you were a scientist and then you became an entrepreneur, did you miss just being a scientist, or what made you switch to say, I think there's this entrepreneur blooming out of me?
I have come to understand a couple of things over my scientific career. I still consider myself a scientist. I still do quite a lot of technical work, probably to my detriment. It'd be better if I didn't, but I can't let it go. One, I really like working on teams, okay? As I mentioned, there's holes in my capacity. And I like finding team members and or hiring team members who fill out the gaps that I have. So I love working on teams. I actually, turns out, I really like applied science more than I like what is called basic science, all right? So applied science is solving problems that are identified and ideally support society. Basic science is problems that you or others may identify that don't necessarily have a direct sort of outcome. They might, you might study a marine animal and it turns out to have compounds that have, medical purposes, but that's not why you started studying it. So for myself, I found that assembling teams and working on societally driven problems really got my fire going, and that's what I really enjoyed. And it was possible to make money doing that because of the context that it's in. And so that was the easiest place to make all that work. It's worked out. Here we go. All right, welcome back, judges. We already awarded all the $1,000, but.
Well, thank you, Drew. Thank you so much. All right. Well, as I said, I don't envy being a judge in this panel because these all were so fabulous and it'd be hard to choose. So. But I guess, do you do drum roll too, Ali? Yeah. All right.
The judges collectively just want to thank you guys for your efforts in the presentations. I mean, your business plan, as soon as you present it, is outdated because something changed, so it's a constant evolution. And to try to explain what you're doing and working hard at in such a short period of time always leaves, raises more questions than answers. So it's a challenge, and you surround yourself with people that ask you questions, and when they ask you a question that you think is stupid, either it's a stupid question is one option, either you're not explaining it well, or it's something you ought to think about because you haven't. And I think, just surround yourself in that environment, because there's always going to be things that you haven't thought of. And just in terms of making a selection, what we tried to look at was where the companies were in the business plan and where the money, could make the most difference. Because if you look at the spectrum that you guys represent, it's forget apples and oranges, it's apples and a steak, or not to insult people who are vegans, but something like that. So, but we appreciate the time and effort you made to do this.
Well, thank you very much. These. I do want to just say on behalf of Erin Donovan Boyle is the executive director of the Newport Chamber of Commerce, and she could not be here unfortunately because of a family emergency. Everything's okay, but the chamber did sponsor the event, so she wanted me to say congratulations and wish you all well and thank you for being here. Okay, so second prize, runner-up, goes to Rent Beetle. All right, we'll bottle it up. Come on up. Yes, thank you. Congratulations. Okay, and our first prize goes to Jaya Robotics. Come on up. Congratulations. Speech?
I am blown away. I have to say that every time I come, and I've done a few pitches this week on different events, and it astonishes me how fantastic some of the ideas people have. I feel really, really humble. I'm not going to burst into tears, but I might burst into song on the Queen, on the Ocean Queen when we go for a beer in a bit. Thank you very, very much. That was,
Well, thank you all for coming out. We hope to see you again soon. So feel free to go to the exhibits on your way out. But thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.